What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Inside 11, and right now we're discussing goddamn blind faith. Because I recently saw an Instagram reel or an Instagram story with Creslow Dollar, one of those big time famous preachers, and they were talking about how you're not supposed to know the mystery, you're just supposed to have faith. Because if you knew the mystery, it would take all the fun out of it or some shit like that. So I don't remember what his explanation is, but it's amazing to me how far preachers and pastors and imams and people who are in positions of power within dominant religions and dominant culture, role figures and shit like that, will go to logically explain something that is really just a missing piece of the evidence. So you're really just saying, let me not collect any more data or further understanding about the world and correlate it to myself, so that it's no longer just about faith, so that I actually have evidence and data in place so I can duplicate those results. Like like my grandpa is a farmer, for example. He understands that he has to put a seed on the ground. In the ground, he has to nourish that seed. He has to give that tree, that plant, a certain amount of time for it to, grow, become a plant, become a tree, whatever it does. And then, at a certain time frame, it's going to eventually yield you some fruits and things like that. And so, if you don't have an effective measurement tool, a process that can be replicatable and duplicated, that can actually yield you results, you're going to be doing this thing that I call blind faith 24/7, 365. And eventually, you're going to get sick and tired of it. And most people don't even realize it until they die. Most people will just keep running and following the program of blind faith until their body and mind gives up, and you just think you have to hold on to that. And when you die, you're supposed to somehow go into some kind of heaven that someone else has planned for you. While, like in your real life right now, if you're following the plans of your schooling system, if you're following the plans of your mother and father, not that there's anything wrong with that, but how can you expect to actually manifest your highest possible good if all you're doing is being a good house nigga or a good house girl, following somebody else's orders? So you think someone else knows what's best for you, so you allow yourself to be ordered around. You go to the church every Sunday, praise Jesus, sister, praise Jesus, brother. You go to the mosque 5 times a day, and that's one of the problems that I had to deal with, was this blind faith. Because, man, I mean, my father and mother till today have this blind faith, have this program of fear. But really, it's just another way for you not to deal with your own bullshit. It's just another way for you not to deal with your own responsibility, with the dirt and the bullshit you'd be doing to sabotage yourself and sabotage others. So you subscribe to something outside of you as a form of an external safe haven, so you don't have to go deal with yourself. So you just decided to settle basically on something. How about, instead of settling, how about you actually have faith in the true source of all things, and actually believe for once, and actually allow yourself to change your belief system, allow yourself to actually work towards something worthy while of your lifetime, something that has already been placed inside of you since you was a child, things that you were already doing so natural, like breathing. See, God is so beautiful, but God is so scary at the same time, because God is so natural that the people just want to be artificially created. You just want the artificial things. See what I'm saying? So even with myself, I had to deal with this problem of being blindly, faithfully following Islam. Now look, I figured out the trick faster than most people. But while I was blindly following Islam, I found myself trying to create a sense of happiness and a sense of satisfaction, and a sense of fulfillment that wasn't necessarily there, while I was being outweighed by other, let's just say, negative habit patterns that were wrecking my life. Even though that I was still young, I can still see the early signatures of it. Because you start to think, certain things are not important. You start to think you keeping your own money in your pocket is not important. You start to think that, okay, maybe the education system is not important. All I need to do is just sit here and pray, and if I need to be poor my whole life, this is me somehow proving to God something. But obviously, I'm not saying Islam asks you to do that or anything, because obviously we can see trillionaire dollar sheikhs, billionaire dollar sheikhs living in Abu Dhabi and Saudi Arabia, the people that control the sovereign funds and things like that. And that shit alone can tell you that if these people are driving gold Lambos, these people are driving diamond cars, then maybe, just maybe, they don't actually give a fuck about the religion. Maybe they just need you to follow it blindly, and so you can continue to be obedient and operate under their hierarchy system that they created within, as that religion being part of that mass control system. You know, because a lot of things that I saw as a child didn't really make sense. It didn't make sense to me how a group of people can call themselves the men of God, but yet they can be so frustrated, yet they can be so angry, yet they can because I literally saw my family, my friends and loved ones walk to the mosque, blindly following faith, what somebody else told them, walk in the mosque, hand in hand with God, hand in hand with Allah, holding hands like there wasn't some angel presence on the earth. But after they came back from the mosque, there was they masked that anger, they masked that frustration for 5 to 10 minutes. But then they would come home and get angry again and do the same thing again and again. So then I have to ask myself, if these people are blindly following something and it's not replicating or duplicating any results, because I have to have tested it first for me to even come to the conclusion of Islam is just not shit. Now, it is the shit if you understand what the book is actually saying, but the book is not saying anything new. Any other book, any other religious text, any other occult book, it's just saying the same thing. It's just talking about a calendar in text form, and it's literally, Muhammad was just basically a rapper. Like, literally, dude was just writing bars, writing harmonics, comparing the division between things, Beth and things like that. And so when somebody else is able to replicate and duplicate information and knowledge consistently, that means that they must have some kind of science that they are following. And when you understand science, when you understand science, when you understand spirituality, when you understand what that stuff really means, you're able to reduplicate these things in your life as well with the same results without even reading the book. So really, the book is just a testimony for God, which already exists all around us. The Bible is just a testimony for God that already exists all around us. And the moment you try to attach the Lord of Lords, the King of Kings, the Kings of Kings, the God of Gods, to just some scripture, to some book, however great you might think it is, it might not actually be compatible with your own personal form of spirituality. Now, I don't personally believe that any of it is compatible, because really, it comes from a specific group of people, it comes from a specific bloodline, and only a specific group of people or a sector of people or a bloodline can operate its capabilities and actually revive it from the perspective of, okay, this is for the people and things like that. But to replicate someone else's data and information in life, you can do that, but you need to actually start to observe what were these things that they are actually doing, and what are these practices actually mean. Because you don't even actually need to go to the mosque 5 times a day. You need to pray 5 times a day. You don't need to do none of that. You just need to understand the science behind it. When you understand the science behind it, you can replicate and duplicate it in your own life. And even then, it's still not enough. Because I mean, there's reasons why Muhammad had to do what he had to do. There's a reason why a lot of these figures in history had to do what they had to do. There's certain things that they were experiencing that put their back against the wall, and they had to really ask themselves, how do I overcome this situation? And because they asked themselves the right questions, for them to embark on a mental quest to find an answer, that's how God, all possibilities, drops nuggets on your lap on a daily, so you can start to see and navigate through your life. But we as people, we ask ourselves the wrong questions. The wrong questions would be, is following Jesus Christ right or wrong? Am I washing my body the right way so Allah is pleased? How much do I need to give to the church this Sunday? That I do enough for the Islamic organization that I'm a part of so that Allah is pleased? Because God doesn't care about, organizations necessarily, because really a lot of these organizations are just some kind of, they force feed you, and they just, like, for example, when I was living in my house, when I first came to Canada, these Muslims would always come to our house and pick us up to ensure that we was praying. Not from the perspective of they really cared of us going to heaven. They really just wanted to make sure that, we just keep coming back to that location again and again. And it's not that necessarily they didn't want you to forget about your religion. Now you gotta remember there's always an underlying motive for somebody else. If somebody else is not getting something out of it, then it's nothing at all, really. So a lot of it sometimes can be a sense of ego as well. Okay, if I have this many people in my mosque, okay, I feel certain ways, because you can see a lot of kids even are walking away from religion and things like that, because religion is not solving their life problems. And religion is not solving your life problems. Obviously, you have to start asking yourself some serious questions. And if you're a Muslim who's always been strictly disciplined and frequently and intensely told to do certain things and not to operate outside of certain patterns, you might come to a Western country and do things to an extreme level, as far as doing drugs or being with females. You might even get somebody pregnant and things like that. So the main thing is religion doesn't solve anybody's problems. You need to solve your own problems. And how you solve your own problems is by asking yourself the right questions. A lot of people ask themselves the wrong questions. Like a bad question would be, am I going to be wealthy tomorrow? Is today going to be a good day? God, please have mercy on my soul. God, why is this happening to me? Because it's only done unto you as you believe. So you need to start asking yourself the right questions. How can I get out of this situation into a more abundant situation that reflects my internal source, my internal design? And how can I be much more happier? And how can I be much more wealthier? See, that's a better question than the average question that people ask themselves. So remember, ask yourself good questions. Don't ask yourself bad questions, because your brain, your cells, they're all listening. They're all just waiting for you to issue a command, and God, source, will give you an answer. So stop asking yourself the questions that the church, the people at the mosque tell you. Oh, how can I get to heaven? You're the way to heaven. There's no medium between God and men anymore. It's not through me. I'm just a reminder. It's not through a book. That's just a reminder. But God is available to everybody 24/7, 365. Not from the perspective, you don't need to get on your knees and pray no more. You don't need to go open the Quran book and start reading that shit. Start thinking like it's gonna save you or heal you. You don't need to go to the you don't need to ask your mother and father permission. It's never been about that, because the Bible even tells you, like, it's just, and again, this is just a testimony for what's already happening. It tells you that father, son, and daughter or whatever will rebel against mother and father, something along these lines. But they just wrote that there because that's always what was happening. Because the kids that they were having, similar to today, did not have the same mindset as a lot of those parents and people. And so those mindsets and belief systems clash, because chances are those parents back then were operating underneath a government, a religious system, a particular set of things that they believe to be entertaining. And so when the child grows to see things differently, of course they're going to get some feedback and some lashback from their mother and father. And this is what's happening today. See, you are trying to be yourself. You are trying to learn more and be more with yourself. But see, you've lost your identity. You've lost yourself. You've lost your authentication code that you're supposed to use to go on the side of God with. And you gave that up for another authentication code, kind of like how you verify yourself when you're logging into your apps. And you gave all that up for something external. And that's something, that external thing is really killing you. That external thing is making you not fully see your value. Because even if you want to talk about astrology, you can say you're your moon sign, your sun sign, your rising sign, and all that. And these are just speculative keys and all that, but you're not supposed to, it's not because your Mars or your sun is in the 18,000th house. That's not why you're flunked out. It's not because you were born ugly and your nose is broken. That's not why you flunked out. You flunked out because you got a messed up belief system. And that belief system generates facial expressions. It generates body language. It generates words that are associated with those belief systems. So what do you think is going to happen if you actually believe that you're a poor sucker and you need Jesus Christ, and you need Allah, and you need to get on your knees, and you need to beg for something, and you need someone else's permission to get into the door, to get into the kingdom of heaven. If you need permission to get into the door, to get into the kingdom, then you have some serious questions you need to ask yourself. Some serious hardcore questions. And you're already asking yourself these questions. So don't stop now, because God doesn't fuck with, let me open this door. Oh no, I'm gonna run away. You can keep doing that, but that shit will follow you even if you die. Because there's a reason why you're in flesh. There's a reason why you're depressed and all that shit. There's a reason why this happened, because you got all this weight on top of you that you're trying to carry that has nothing to do with your virtue and principle. And when you're hurting, you go out and hurt other people because you can't even deal with yourself. You can't even deal with your own demons. So learn how to deal with your demons and stop hurting other people, because the moment you do that, you'll be beautified. Because you're already justified. But you need to give yourself permission to access yourself and regene yourself and remind yourself of who you are. See, you gotta rewind. You gotta rewind to that time when you was a kid, and you gotta remember what you liked, what you was doing. That's why they do what's it called? Childhood therapy, inner child work, or whatever they call it. Because you're basically trying to remember what you were doing. Because when you're a kid, you were already doing it. You were already being yourself. When you're a little kid and you're running around, you're wearing your little cape and whatever it is that you was doing, whatever you was pretending, whatever you was acting out. Life is just an act. Life is just a stage. You might as well just make it your stage. Appreciate you. Love you. Ain't nothing y'all can do about it. Peace.